So last time we saw the portion where Bhagwan said that he concluded the difference between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. That's what he explained, and he said in verse 19, that's what we say. He says this is what Kshetra and Kshetrajna is in brief. So he has explained, completed that, and now he's explaining Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti are words synonyms to Brahman and Maya. So Purusha is Brahman and Prakriti is Maya, but when creation is to be explained, when creation is referred to, Brahman and Maya become Purusha and Prakriti. And that's what he says in 20. He says that know that both Purusha and Prakriti are beginningless. Why? Because Brahman is beginningless and Maya, which is his inherent power, obviously is also beginningless. And therefore Purusha and Prakriti both are beginningless. It is to be understood that Prakriti does have an end, Maya does have an end in knowledge. Otherwise, they would have been exactly the same. If both were beginningless and both were endless, then there wouldn't have been any difference. Both are beginningless, but one has an end. One ends in knowledge, and knowledge never ends. That is what it is. And also he explained in 20 that the modifications are happening only because of Prakriti, because Purusha cannot modify. That is, Brahman cannot modify. And the reason that Prakriti modifies is because of the Gunas. What is modifying are the Gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, of which we see an expression in the world. We cannot see Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Those cannot be shown to us by anybody. But we can see an expression. And I told you, in the world, there is the principle of dynamism, a principle of knowledge, principle of dynamism, and principle of inertia. These principles tell us that there is something known as sattva. So where you see the principle of knowledge, purity, calmness, it is sattvic, sattva. Where you see the principle of dynamism, like people are just one thing after the other, it's rajas. And where there is inertia, laziness, procrastination, I will do it tomorrow, why do it today? All those sort of expressions belong to tamas. So these are the expressions of sattva, rajas, and tamas. In chapter 14, we will be dealing with them in great detail. These gunas are modifiable. Like I gave you the example, gold, yes, you can modify it into an ornament, but mercury, you cannot touch, you cannot make, it cannot be modified. Mercury cannot be modified. So that's what Bhagwan said here, that know that because of these gunas, Prakriti is modifiable. So what creates the world is Prakriti, because modification is possible. Here, one thing we need to understand is the Sankhya school of philosophy, what they say also, they say that there is Purusha and there is Prakriti. We have to understand in what context they are using the words. So they say Prakriti creates. We also say Prakriti creates. But what they say is Prakriti is independent of Purusha. Prakriti has the power to create on her own. This is their philosophy, not Vedanta. And Prakriti creates for the enjoyment of Purusha. That is one more point. And the third point is that there are many Purushas. Now here, that is where Vedanta differs, in the sense, what they call as Purusha, it is our jiva. Because there are many jivas. Okay, they say many Purusha. So that Purusha of Sankhya philosophy must not be misunderstood as Brahman of Vedantic philosophy. So that Purusha is our jiva. There are many Purushas. Okay, fine. There are many jivas. We know that. Okay, Prakriti creates. We also say Prakriti creates. That's what is being said. Yes, agreed. Prakriti can create independently. We have a difference. We say no. Prakriti is inert. It does not have the power to create on its own. It needs the presence of Purusha to create. Okay, so that is our philosophy, Vedantic philosophy. Now, Prakriti creates for the enjoyment of the Purusha. Yes, we can say, because in our philosophy, Purusha is jiva. So whatever this world is created is for enjoyment or experiencing of the jiva. Experiencing is a better word, because when we use the word enjoyment of jiva, it is only good, happy. You don't enjoy sorrow. But we see that in the world, there is joy and sorrow both. So whatever is created by Prakriti, not independently, not without the help of Purusha, is for the experiencing of the jiva, so that the jiva can exhaust its vasanas. Okay, so there are good and bad vasanas, so there'll be good and bad experiences, and all that is created by Prakriti. Those are the main points of difference between Sankhya philosophy and Advaita Vedanta philosophy. They are also into Sattva, Rajas, Tamas very much, and we will see that it will come now in this one of the verses ahead. So they are also into Sattva. Okay, they also say Sattva. We also say yes, gunas are there. Yes, gunas modify and create. Yes, gunas modify and create. All that, but Prakriti is independent. We say no. That's where we say no. Many Purushas, we say no. There is only one Purusha as per Vedanta, many jivas. That we agree. Yes, there are many jivas. Prakriti creates for the experience of the jiva. Yes, we agree. For the experience of the jiva, not for Purusha. Because our Purusha, which is Brahman, doesn't experience anything. Okay? And then in 21, Bhagavan said that the cause and effect, the world, and I told you, it's Ishvara Srishti. Prakriti is responsible for the Ishvara Srishti. For the world, yes, Prakriti is responsible because Prakriti modifies and the world is created. But when is samsara created? Samsara is created when the jiva sets up a relationship with that world. Samsara is different from creation. You have to understand that. Samsara when there is an experience of joy or sorrow, both. If there is no experience of joy or no experience of sorrow, it is only the world. That's why Ishvara Srishti, you see sunlight, you see rain, you see snow, you see mountains, you see trees. There's nothing, what is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with sunshine. Is there something wrong with rain? Yesterday there was Vancouver, pouring rain. Is there something wrong? No. We need rain. We need water. There's nothing wrong. But when I say, oh God, I hate this rain, samsara is created for me. I've set up a relationship of dislike with rain. I've set up a relationship of like with sunlight. Now samsara, because you know why? Because now I'm becoming miserable. So when it rains, I'm miserable. When it is sunshine, I'm happy. That is what samsara is. That is why he says, Purusha Sukha Dukhanam Bhoktrutve Heturuchate. The Sukha and Dukha of the Purusha here to be understood as Jiva, because Sukha Dukha does not belong to Brahman. So this Jiva who is enjoying this or experiencing this Sukha and Dukha, it is Jiva is experiencing it. The reflection of consciousness, the Jiva is experiencing it. The world is created by Prakriti and the jiva, and both jiva and prakriti, samsara is created with both. If there is only prakriti creating the world, no samsara. Like I said, okay, the world is existing out there. As long as it has no effect on me, there is no samsara. The minute it starts having an effect on me, I like this, I don't like this, samsara starts. And that like and dislike is with the jiva. It is not with prakriti. There is nothing in the world, no inert object can tell us, Jaya likes me. The watch is not saying, oh, Jaya likes me very much. Watch is not saying. I am saying, oh, I like my watch, I like my house, I like my this, I like my that. Inert matter cannot talk, cannot say, there are no feelings. So the relationship is set up by us, jiva, by the jiva. This is what this is. Okay. Now, and the next one was, yes, Purusha seated in experiences the qualities born out of Gunas. So the experiencing is done by the Purusha. Because it is said Purusha seated in Prakriti indicates it is Jiva. It is a reflection of consciousness. This is Chidabhasa. In technical language, that is Chidabhasa, ego, Jiva, the small I, as Gurudev would call it. So all this, and the knower of the field, Purusha, when it identifies itself with the field. So there is samsara created only when there is identification. If there is no identification, there is no samsara. And this is what is the case with the realized masters. So when we see Raman Maharshi undergoing surgery on his elbow without anesthesia, he is totally disidentified from the body. There is no pain. He says, "What? It's like, somebody doing something to my car. Am I feeling sad? that, oh, they've opened the hood, now they've done something and they're doing something to the engine. But that's only the case with realized masters. With us, because I think I'm the body, of course, when they do anything, I'll feel pain. And samsara is created. So this is what Karana Gunasanga, and then being, he identifies with the body and the senses, qualities, and the cause of birth. Yes, because when I get identified, I create vasanas, and those vasanas then become a reason for my next birth. In 23, the word asi, giving us various names, Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, and Bhokta. I told you we are at the level of the Bhokta, where we think that we are experiencing this world. From there, move on to understanding, knowing that I'm the one that is supporting this body. I am not the body. Subtle, because ego is in the subtle body, and it's the bhokta is the ego. Ego says I'm happy when there is sunshine, I'm sad when there is rain. This is what the ego, from that standpoint, say I am the one that is keeping this body together. Because once the subtle body leaves the gross body is not going to be living anymore. So it is I, the small I, that is actually keeping this body alive. You go to there, and then from there you go to Anumanta, permitter. I decide that something has to be done, and the body follows. I want to go for a movie, so the body then buys a ticket and then goes for the movie. Permit. And from permitter you go to Sakshi, which is the highest that we can go to. So you say, I'm not even actually the permitter. The things are happening. The desire has arisen in my mind due to Rajas, right? Any kind of action-oriented desire that arises. I want to go for a movie is arising from a Rajasic desire. I want to sit quietly and read my Bhagavad Gita. It is arising from a Sattvic desire. So I am the witness of this Sattvic desire, which wants to read Bhagavad Gita, and this Rajasic desire, which wants to go for the movie. I have got nothing to do with both. And that is Sakshi. And that's where is the best position. So you are witnessing the thoughts inside, and you're witnessing the actions outside, knowing very well that you have got nothing to do with either one of them. That is the sadhana, that is the purushartha that is to be done. Okay. So then he says that the one who understands this, understands what? That I am only a sakshi. I am not the doer. I am not the enjoyer. The one who understands this gets freed from the cycle of birth and death. This is what Bhagavan says. Sarvathavarta nasa bhuyo bhijayate. He will not be subject to a birth again. He will not be born. Means what? Because he recognized himself to be the self. There is no more birth for him. Now, how to reach that stage? Sadhana is in the next two verses, 25 and 26. And I know I told there are 34 verses, and I thought I could probably do all of them. But when I started reading them, I thought, okay, I can do if I rush, but I don't want to. So I will not be able to complete the text today. I'm telling you right now. We will do a few verses, and then we'll take it from there. How it goes. Dhyane natmani pashyanti kechidatmanam Anne sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. Question is, how do I get to this self-knowledge? That's why Gurudev also has translated. Now there are several paths to self-knowledge, and they are mentioned here as follows. So the question is, how do you are explained. Kshetra, Kshetranya you explain. Creation you explain. Purusha, Prakriti you explain. You also explain the Asi principle, that all these names are there. It is for the same entity. But how do I get there? This is what it is telling us. Some by meditation behold the self in the self by the self, others by the yoga of knowledge, by Sankhya yoga, and others by karma yoga. So the three methods are given. The hierarchy is the meditation. The first one, Dhyane Atmani, is the most subtlest, most difficult, so hardest. Middle is Sankhya yoga, and we'll understand what Sankhya is here, what it means here. And then karma yoga. So karma yoga is at the bottom. So we can stay at the level of karma yoga, but let's start with meditation. What is dhyana? So in Kathopanishad also, Vivek Chudamani also it was funny, it was just yesterday, the verse was there. Bhagavan Shankaracharya advises, merge the sense organs into the mind into the intellect, and the intellect into the Supreme Atma. And that is what he calls meditation, Dhyana. That is Vedantic Dhyana. It's from Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad say the same thing. So now let us understand, what does it mean, merge the sense organs into the, you can't, physically you can't hold them and stick them into the mind. And what is merge the mind into the intellect? So when we say merge, the word merge is to be understood as shift attention. Shift attention from the sense organs to the mind. Shift attention, because meditation is a matter of attention. Where is your attention? That is what it is. So from the sense organs to the mind, from the mind to the intellect, and from the intellect into the Supreme Self. Now, what does it mean, shift attention? What does it mean? That also we have to understand. So we understand that. If you take the sense organs, and let's take eyes as an example, it's all 5 sense organs included. When the sense organs, again, Kathopanishad says, they're cursed to go outwards, they cannot go inside. Okay, fine. They're going outwards. The eyes or ears or whatever is perceived is only differences. Think about it. If my eyes are open, now I'm looking, each one of you has a different background. Each one of you has a different face. Each one, somebody's wearing glasses, somebody's not wearing glasses, somebody's, whatever. So my eyes, when they are looking, when sense organs are looking outside, there is nothing but differences. When I look out, I see the tree, which is different from the house, which is different from the mountain, which is different from the road, which is different from the car. That's all the eyes are seeing. So shift attention from sense organs to the mind, or merge the sense organs into the mind, means this. Even though the eyes are seeing the differences, the mind should understand that behind that there is only that one substratum of existence alone. That's why in Subodh Vedanta also, Swami Ishwananji said that the realized master perceives one thing, but his understanding is different. For us ignorant people, I perceive the differences, and my understanding also is, yeah, this person is different from that person. That tree is different from that mountain. That mountain is different from the car. My understanding and my perception is one and the same. For a realized master, it is different. So even though the realized master is seeing the exact same world that an ignorant person is saying, in his mind, he knows it is all one. And that is what is meant by shift attention. So merge the senses into the mind. So when the senses are seeing the differences, shift your attention to the mind. Yes, the senses are seeing differences, but the mind knows that it is only the existence principle which is upholding all this. Rama, you have a question? Can you write it down and can we answer it at the end?
Okay.
So shifting attention from the senses to the mind. Now, means what? Means the understanding in the mind has to be different from what is being perceived. It has to be different. That is what shift. Now, from the mind to the intellect. So the mind is now saying, oh, there is only this existence principle that is the same substratum in all these differences that I'm seeing, all these different people. Say for me, I'm seeing all these different people existent. The next question is, who is the one that is saying that it is the existence principle? Is it Brahman? No, it is the ego. It is the ego. So when you have this question, you have shifted, you have merged your mind into the intellect. Why? Because the ego is in the intellect. Ego is in the reflection of consciousness is happening because intellect is subtler than the mind. So reflection is always happening in the intellect. So now you have, when you questioned that, when you questioned it, you said, okay, existence is one. Who is saying that there is only one existence? It is the ego. Now you have come up to the level of the ego. You have merged it. Now this ego, because the next instruction is from the intellect, you merge the intellect into the Paramatma. Is this ego really real? What is this ego? Now your attention is going to the Supreme Self, because the answer is, and that's why meditation is like way afterwards? Answer is, this is a reflection of that pure consciousness. Can this reflection have any reality? That is what this Dhyana Atmani Pashyanti. So this is how these yogis, seekers, they do, and they reach the final abode. This is very, very, theory is extremely easy, okay? For this, a highly purified mind is required. Highly, 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 highly. It's like, okay, but this is what this is the meaning. When they say shift your attention, what is shifting attention? We have to know that even to practice it. So even though you see the differences, understand that there is only that one substratum of existence in all. So the tree is existing, the mountain is existing, the car is existing, the road is existing, the people are existing. Then who is the one that is saying that there is the existence? It is the ego. Now you've reached the level of the intellect. And then question the ego itself. And this is what dhyana is. Now, some people do Sankhya Yoga meditation. So this Sankhya Yoga here is the Sankhya philosophy. And that's why I explained a little bit of the Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhya philosophy, they are very high. They say there is Purusha and there is Prakriti. That's it. And their meditation is a constant discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti. That constant. So it is not like you sit at one place. For Vedantic meditation, the recommendation is that you sit at one place. Whereas Sankhya meditation is to be done 24/7 while you're working in this world. Okay, so that's why 24/7 meditation. Now, the meditation, if it is a discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti, so what happens is, now the person is walking in the world and the person sees the principle of knowledge. Okay, so there's a conference of intellectuals. So there's so much intelligence in the room and so on. So all that is different. There are so many people who are intellectuals and this conference is going on. And the Sankhya person, the one who's following, he says, all this is only sattva. All these people are exhibiting the guna of sattva. So from so many people, he has suddenly come down to one, sattva. The whole thing is to go from many to one. That is the whole, even in our meditation, when the sense organs are seeing so many different things, we are saying existence principle. Then we are saying, who is the one that is saying? We are saying ego. Then we are saying, who is the ego? It's a reflection of consciousness. That's why from many we have gone to one. Sankhyans, what they do is, when they see the principle of knowledge, they say this is all sattva. Because they're very high on Prakriti. And Prakriti is sattva, rajas, tamas. That they also say. Then they see dynamism. So there is a person with this to-do list, one of the rajas. This is rajas. Finish. From so much activity, gone down to one. Then they see some lazy inertia, principle of inertia. They say, tamas. So, and then this is Prakriti and I'm Purusha. I'm separate from all this. So the entire world is brought down to three. Sattva, rajas, tamas. So no matter what I see, because there are only these, there's no fourth thing that you see in the world. You will see these three things or you'll see a mixture of the things. That's it. So the Sankhya person says, this is Sattva, rajas, tamas. This is Prakriti and I am Purusha. That's it. Though they only go, as per Vedanta, they only are going up to the level of the jiva. But at least that is what they're doing. So this is the Sankhya Yogena here. And if Bhagavan says, if you can't, there are people who can't even do this discrimination. Because even to do the discrimination, you have to first have knowledge. Na? Unless you studied Sattva, Rajas, Tama, how will you know that this is an expression of Sattva, this is an expression of Rajas? That's why next chapter Bhagavan is going to explain what is an expression of Sattva, what it does, etc., etc. All the details he will explain. This is Sankhya. Then he says some people now do Karma Yoga. It is the easiest. Karma Yoga, because maximum people are Rajasic. Maximum people have Rajas in it. So Karma Yoga, there are the 5 principles of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga absolutely dissected in chapter 3. So karma yoga, we say there are 5 principles. First is a principle of duty, the kartavya buddhi. So when the idea of converting karma into karma yoga is only to purify the mind, and purification of mind is reduction of likes and dislikes. That's it. That's it. Karma can never give direct realization, but it is required. It is a path to realization. It is the means, and it has to be done. So when you do everything as a duty, as your duty, you go beyond likes and dislikes. Because very common example that I give in my Bal Vihar class, which young mother likes to get up in the middle of the night and change the diaper of the baby? You think the mother like, oh, I love to get up when I'm in deep sleep. No, she's doing it as a duty. So she goes about like, it's my duty. When she says, this is my child, and that child requires help in the middle of the night, she's gone beyond likes and dislikes. So duty. Then asangata, detachment from the action as well as its results. So anyway, sorry. So first is kartavya buddhi. Every work, including eating, when you do it as a duty to your body, you will never overeat. You will never put wrong things in the body. Basic, I'm telling you, just for your own self. Forget everybody else. Forget family, everything else. So right from there, the sense of duty has to, because eating is a karma. You have to do it not because, oh, I like this, so I'll eat double, and I don't like this, so I won't touch this. Shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be there. Then asanga. So detachment to the action as well as to its result. When you are doing some action and say you are asked to leave it, or you have to leave it due to some reason, there should be no pain. So there should be detachment from, not that I like this action, so I will do it. Every action is to be done as a duty. So when whatever that you're asked to do, you do it as a duty, whatever you're supposed to do. Then sense of surrender. The ego has to be surrendered to a higher altar. So that, because you're trying to purify the ego says, I am the one that is doing it. Instead of that, I am doing it for my Lord, for my baby. That's why baby also becomes a higher altar. Elderly parents become a higher altar. Any higher, freedom fighters, they did it for the country. They didn't do it for themselves, like only I will get freedom. No, it was for the entire country. So the ego is surrendered to that altar. It doesn't, of course, God is the highest altar. So there can be God, guru, country, small baby, elderly parents, whatever. It's something other than your own sense. It's just me. I want to do, I like this, and I want. That shouldn't be the attitude in karma. Okay, to make it karma yoga. If you want to make it karma yoga, then there has to be that sense of surrender. Then there has to be samatha, equanimity while doing the action. So very important. The heart of chapter 3 is verse 30, which says, where Bhagavan says, there should be no anxieties of the past and the future. You remain in the present. That is what samatha is. What happens is we lose our equipoise because, see, I'm doing something. Oh, last time I did it, my God, it didn't go well. Now what will happen? Now what will happen? Either we do this or, will I get this result? Will I get this result? So my present is destroyed because I'm worrying about the past. Or you become complacent. That's what happened to Arjun. We become complacent. Arey, Arjun, there was not a single war in Arjun's life that he had lost. Please know. That's why one of his names is Vijay. So what happens is, when he has not lost any war at all, he had that arrogance even this time in this war. And that's why Bhagwan took his chariot right in front of Bhishmacharya and Dronacharya. Bhagwan knew that he thinks, I've won every war. What is there? This war. That's why he said, show me those evil-minded sons of Dhritarashtra, chapter 1. Those are his words. Show me the evil. You have no right to call them evil-minded. This is what Bhagwan is trying to tell him. They are evil-minded, but you can't call them, because then you're falling from sattva into rajas. That's what he did. So either we become complacent. Arey, I've done it so many times. What's the big deal? Either I become complacent, or then because there have been so many, what will happen? I don't think it'll. So that is the thing of the past. And when I'm attached to the result, that's why the asanga buddhi has come already. When I want this result. Oh, what will happen to me? My life will be over if I don't get this result. Now, in that anxiety, in the present action I'm not doing correctly. So samatva buddhi is also very important. Kartavya buddhi, sharanagat buddhi, asanga buddhi, samatva buddhi, and then finally prasad buddhi. Prasada is when you get the result. Prasad is what you get in the temple. Suppose in the temple you get a fruit which you don't like. Suppose in my childhood I never liked papaya. So if I went in the temple, somebody get, do we say, I don't like this? What do we say? No, this is prasad from God. I must eat it. Same way, when the result comes, you must say, this is what Ishvara, Ishvara is the karma phaladata. Ishvara has sent me this result. You must be able to say that. And that becomes prasad buddhi towards the result. And when you follow these 5 principles, it becomes karma yoga. Every karma, including breathing, eating, exercising. It is my duty to my body to keep it healthy. That's why it should be done and kept healthy, not beautiful. How beautiful will I, not to maintain beauty, to maintain health, good health. So all the things, when we think, do I really want to get up in this cold winter and go for a walk? Yo, I hate it. It's raining. When you have that sense of duty, you will do it. No matter what, you will do it. These are the principles of karma yoga. And this will only take you to purification of the mind. It will only take you up to there. It will not take you to realization. But realization is not possible unless the mind is highly purified. And that's why karma yoga becomes extremely important. Even though in the hierarchy, yes, you do karma yoga, doing karma yoga, purify your mind. Then you go to this Sankhya, where there's constant discrimination of Purusha Prakriti to be done. And then finally you go into merging the sense organs into the mind, into the intellect, into the supreme self, given by Kathopanishad. Bhagavad Gita also, earlier verses, Bhagavan has told this. This is how it is. Okay? Nama, did you want to ask your question? Is it on this verse?
Actually, I was thinking when you said the sensory organs always see the differences. I was just thinking it could even see extra dimension. It could even see the very nature of that object.
The sense organs?
No, when initially we started off saying that we need to shift our attention. Sensory organs always are going outside. Shift the attention from there to intellect to the supreme self.
True mind, yeah.
So it was mentioned that sensory organs always see the differences in the objects, right?
Yeah.
Instead of differences, we could even think like an extra dimension. We could even think the very nature of that object.
So when you use the word think, you have shifted to the mind. Sense organs cannot think. The eyes cannot think. The nose cannot think. So you shifted. So when you put think, you shifted. That's what we are saying. That is exactly what I have said. That sense, not I, Bhagavan has said, and Shankaracharya's commentary has said that you see that. That's why Subodh Vedanta, that's exactly what Swami Shivananji said. Realized master perceives one thing, but his understanding is totally different. Because the perception of the world is remaining same for no matter, even if God comes in, when Sri Krishna saw the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Sri Krishna was standing there, he saw the differences. What was his understanding though? Okay, so the understanding has to be changed. That's why Vedanta is only a shift in vision. It is not changing any external circumstances. That is what we also learn from Bhagavad Gita. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherever that army was standing of the Pandavas, wherever Bhishmacharya was, wherever Dronacharya was, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, did they even move an inch? Did the war go away anywhere? So the Paristhiti, the external situation, after 3 hours of Bhagavad Gita, did the external situation change? No. Then what changed? The internal situation of Arjuna's mind changed. Manasthiti changed. Paristhiti did not change at all. And that is exactly the same for us. The paristhiti is never going to change because it has been preordained by our actions in the past. My circumstances, whatever that circumstances I am living in my own world, there's no way that it can change. But my understanding of that situation can change. That's where knowledge comes in.
In fact, it should change. For the mind to get purified, it should change.
Absolutely. It should change. Question is, does it? After so many this thing, why do you think people drop out? Nothing changed inside. When knowledge gives ego, you will drop it. Knowledge, see, that is the difficulty of knowledge. Knowledge can give ego also. I know so much, so many I've attended, now I need a break. It shows that the ego has not been subdued. Because when the more you have the knowledge, you know what the thought should be? There is even more. I didn't know this. There were a couple of things, 2-3 things in Ishwananji. I said, oh, even after doing the course, I had not heard this way. I have also explained the same concepts, but the way he put it, some things even maybe I heard them in thing, but I've forgotten. So what happens is, as you get more and more knowledge, if the ego is getting subdued, you should say, I need to do more. I want to, study now Brahma Sutras. I want to study Upanishads. I want to study more and more. That is the thought. When you start getting the thought, how much I've done. People have told me, how much can you study? How much can you read? This is what they've asked me. Read means read in Bhagawad Gita. I'm like, yeah, you're right. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. That's what tells you. That's why it is very difficult to control the ego. Don't think it is easy. That's why constant karma yoga is required, where the ego has to be thinned and hammered at and hammered at and hammered at, where finally it will disappear. Okay?
Thank you.
I have a question. So I understood your explanation about what dhyana really means, namely shifting attention from lower to the higher, all the way from the sense organs to the mind, to the intellect, and finally to the Paramatma. But I'm trying to relate that to the literal meaning of the shloka that is given here. Can you help me with that? So here it says, behold the self
in the self, by the self.
So, or even take the Sanskrit version. Both ways, I don't quite see the mapping between your explanation and the shloka.
No, how? Okay, here it is said, behold, how do I behold the self in the self? How? What I've explained to is how to do it. How will you behold the self in the self, by the self? Tell me. You tell me. What I have explained is how. How do I do that? How do I behold the self in the self, by the self? Okay, so here, I don't know how it is in your book. My book, see, behold, the first self should be a capital S. How is it in your books? Because my book is very old.
But all the selves are capitalized in my book.
In your, see, all the self are small self in mine.
Oh, wow.
all of them are in the lowercase. Okay. This book is my father's, this is the book that my father used when he did his course in 89 to 91. My father was in the course. And so this book is from 89. Now, what it is actually, meditation, behold the self, capital S. The first self is Purusha. Okay. In the self, the second self is within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always told you, you cannot experience, Atma is all pervading, Brahman, but you cannot experiencing it in the tree and the calendar and the scanner, and you cannot. Don't try even to do that. Because that is, it's there, all pervading, it's in the chair. So why don't I meditate on the chair? You can't. So that's why in the self is within yourself. By the self, by the ego. The last one is again small s. Who is trying to meditate? It is the ego. Who is trying? Body is not trying to meditate. Ego. So, yes, behold the self in the self, by the self. How? How?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. What knowledge? Knowledge that even though my senses
So there
are
are many
seeing the
to
differences, there is only that one existence principle. Then, who is the one that is seeing the one existence principle? Is the ego. And then who is the ego? What is the ego? How are you going to behold the self? You tell me now. The Kathopanishad has said this thing. That's why we take that explanation of Kathopanishad. And previous chapter 2 or 3, same thing Bhagavan also says. 3, control the senses by the mind. There he uses the word control. Control the senses by the mind and the mind by the intellect. And there also then we explain that the control, okay, so what do you mean control the senses?
That's again shifting attention.
Choice. Yes, choice. So when my senses want to go and eat that sweet, then give it a choice. Do you want to eat this sweet, which is going to increase your sugar level, or would you rather eat a fruit? Choice. Then control the mind. How do you control the mind? Educate the mind. At the level of the senses, choice. At the level of the mind, education. If I eat this, my sugar level will go up. Last time I ate this, tomorrow, next day morning, my sugar was up. I better not eat this. Education. At the level of the intellect, conviction. Totally be convinced this is not good for me. I gave the example, I worked in a bank where I had cash with me. But intellectually, we were totally convinced that this cash is not ours. It shouldn't be touched. I mean, it should be touched to give other people, but not touched to put it in your own pocket. So when that conviction is there, when the conviction is there in the intellect, all the other lower levels get automatically controlled. Because as you go subtler in the hierarchy, the lower layers are getting controlled automatically. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
In my book, it is written correctly. It says, behold the self, capital S, in the self, small s, by the self, small s.
That is the correct one. That is the correct version. That is the correct version. Even that's why I knew even mine is not correct. It's typo, because they keep, editing it all the time. When the book comes up for reprint, there's a whole Chinmaya Prakashan department. I even know the head of the thing, Sudhakar. So he will go through all. There will be people who will go through the Sanskrit and then the transliteration, and there'll be people who go through the English commentary, and then they keep changing. That's why it is. That's why I told you it's different. Okay, clear? This very important verse, huh?
Yes.
Okay, next one is relatively simple. Oh yeah, I could do only 2 verses today. Anne tvevamajanantah shrutva nebhya upasate tepi chatitarantev mrutyum shruti parayanaha. Others also, not knowing thus, worship having heard of it from others. They too cross beyond death, regarding what they have heard as the supreme refuge. Extremely important verse. Now, not knowing thus is referring to the previous verse 25. So they don't know Dhyana, they have not studied Sankhya Yoga, they don't know what Karma Yoga is. So then these people, and the perfect example is Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. One who could not read, who was not educated. He probably, I don't even know whether he had heard the word Upanishad, whether he had heard the word Gita. Even if he had heard, he could not read. He was a beedi worker living in the slums of Mumbai. And he heard, all he did was he heard. From whom? From his teacher, from the Guru. Soham. That's all he heard. You are that. You are that. This was. So this is the most evolved seeker, whom we think educated, can't even speak Marathi properly, forget English. I know this thing. I have read so many books. That person realized in 3 years. in 3 years meditating on I am that. And all the reporters from all the countries went and asked him questions. And his devotees said, we'll give you a good house. He's like, no, I live in my jhopatpatti, literally jhopatpatti. I keep making bidis for a living. I have to smoke because this dog, this is how he referred to the body as his dog. He said, this dog requires bidis. So I give it, it's okay, let it smoke. And people went in all languages, asked him questions. Read the book, I Am That. I am that. Soham. And in French and Spanish and English. And then there was a translator. Then he replied in Marathi, broken Marathi, not pure Marathi. He was totally uneducated. And all his things are from Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita. And only on the basis of hearing Soham. That's it. That's it. Because once you reach that supreme self, the oneness is there. So whatever he quoted, Gita said this. Then we are like, oh, I read this in Gita. I read this in Upanishad. That I am that is full Gita and Upanishad. Given out by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. This is what this verse is. That's it. Therefore, Bhagavan says that Anne, there are some others who don't. So they have heard regarding what they have heard as the supreme refuge. They have only heard. So only Shravanam they have done. But it is from a qualified guru, not from anybody in the world. From a guru. When they hear, they meditate. I am that. I am that. I am that. And his foremost disciple was Ramesh Balsekar. So if you get hold of books by Ramesh Balsekar, read those. He died when I was in Ramesh Balsekar passed when I was in Sandipani. I was studying that time. That time the news came that he has passed on. And he was married. He was the CEO of Bank of India. CEO. And throughout his life, he had looked for a guru. And he, from his own biography, he found Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. And he became the foremost disciple of Sri Nisargadatta. Extremely educated. CEO of Bank of India. Married, children, grandchildren, everything. Only Soham. That's it. Nothing else. And he realized. So this is the second one. Okay.
I have a question, Jayaji.
Yeah.
So this could be because of the accumulated vasanas also, right?
Yes.
From the past.
Definitely. So in the past, in the previous life, he probably has done everything. Because suddenly from zero, nothing comes. Obviously, birth has happened. That means he has done something in the past. Even for Gurudev, they say that he did bhakti and what did Swami Sharda Priyana say? Our Gurudev already had done bhakti and karma. Karma, she said. Therefore, he went into knowledge in this life. Yeah, that is. But this is how it is. These are the two methods of understanding the oneness between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Okay, it is Purusha and Prakriti oneness. Okay,